Hi, boys and girls. It is Miss Kelly, and we are here for day 6 of Unit 1. So let's get started. Today, our learning goals are to practice our active listening, strengthen our writing by planning, organizing facts, details, and quotations related to a topic as a planning step for writing an essay, and explaining how graphic features provide additional information. Okay, the first thing we're going to look at is graphic features. And what are graphic features? Graphic features are sources of information that can kind of go along with the story that you're reading. It can give more information or more data. We usually see them when we're reading a nonfiction story. So down here we have an example, a sample, and that says the future of a crop. And part of this article, the future of a crop, has a graphic feature, and it is showing a circle graph. Okay, you might have seen this before. Sometimes we call them a pie graph or a pie chart, but they're also known as a circle graph. So this particular article includes a circle graph to give us more information about the topic, the future of a crop. So let's take a closer look at that circle graph. So if we zoom in on the circle graph and we take a look at it a little bit closer, we see that it has a title. It's called U.S. Corn Usage 2017, which is the year. So this circle graph is showing us how the United States used all the corn that was grown in the U.S. in 2017. And if you look at the circle graph here, and again, it's also called a pie graph or a pie chart. So think of like a pie or a pizza, right? And when you cut it up, the size of the piece or the size of the slice is going to tell you more information about that topic. So over here is a little key, and the little key is color-coded. And there's also a number inside each part of the circle graph, and that number is a percentage. So it's a percentage out of 100. So if we look at the little key here, we see that this peach color tells us that this section of the circle graph, 41% of the corn used in the U.S. in 2017 was used for feed, and this says residual/other. By feed, they mean feed for animals, like feed for pigs or chickens. So it's being used to feed animals. Then we move down to yellow. Yellow is fuel and ethanol, and it says 1/3 recovered as feed. So maybe some of it ended up being, changed over to be animal feed. Fuel would be like gasoline in your car. Ethanol is a form of fuel. So 33% of the corn that was used in the U.S. in 2017 was used as fuel and ethanol. Then we have red, which says export. Export means we send it to another country. It leaves the U.S. and goes to another country. So 11%, that's the smallest piece of the pie here, the smallest piece of the circle graph, was used for export. We sent that to other countries. And then last we have orange, food and food products. So these would be foods that people would eat. So in 2017, 15% of the corn that was used in the U.S. was used for food and food products. Now, does that surprise you? I was surprised at that. I would have thought that that would have been higher, but it's one of the two smallest pieces by quite a bit. So out of all the corn that was used in 2017, only a little bit of it was used for food and food products for people. So now we're going to read a little opinion piece. And if you remember, if you've ever learned about fact and opinion, right? Fact is something that's true. We can prove it. An opinion is somebody's thoughts or feelings about a topic. It's not right or wrong. It's just how that person feels or what they think about it. So this is an opinion piece, and it is called Clean Burning Corn is America's Future. America's energy consumption is at a record high. As the nation's dependency on fossil fuels increases, Americans have to make a bigger investment in alternative fuel technology and resources. Ethanol, the corn-based biofuel, is the best solution. The first reason is its abundance. In the United States, the world's leading producer of corn, ethanol is a sustainable resource that could continue to meet the country's energy needs well into the future. The other reason is the environment. Ethanol makes a cleaner burning fuel. This reduces carbon emissions in the atmosphere. Using homegrown ethanol in cars will help reduce pollution. It will also offset the amount of oil and gas imported from other nations. That means the air stays cleaner and more money stays with American farmers. For these reasons, America and its corn farmers must continue to support the ethanol industry and at the same time, America's energy independent future. So let's take a closer look at this article for just a minute here. What does this opinion piece show us? What is the author of this opinion piece trying to tell us? Well, it sounds like they're saying that corn would make an excellent fuel for cars, and it gives a few reasons why. And that here we have a great resource in our corn crops, and that we should be using that more. Now, the next question says, what did the circle chart show? And if we go back, we can remember that the circle chart showed that the most corn was being used for feed, animal feed, but the second leading use of corn was for fuel. So we are using a lot of our corn for fuel. So together, what did these show? I think they show that here in America, we are using corn. We are using corn to make ethanol, which is a cleaner burning fuel. So we're sort of headed in the right direction. So you're going to go underneath the assignment and you're going to look at assignment number 1. And assignment number 1 says, reread, keep the corn on the cob, not in my car, and explain how the circle graph supports the writer's idea. So you're going to read the article here. Okay, this is another opinion piece. So ask yourself, what is this author saying? What is the author telling us? Look at the circle graph again. What is the circle graph showing us? And then tell us, how does this circle graph support the writer's opinion in the little opinion piece, keep corn on the cob, not in my car? Okay, so you're going to read the article, look at the circle graph, and then you're going to write underneath how the circle chart supports the writer's opinion. Okay, so you can pause or stop the video right here, go and complete assignment number 1. Make sure that you turn it in and submit it so that your teacher can check it, and I will be here waiting when you get back. Okay, so now we've been working on gathering information from different sources and, trying to organize that information in order to write an essay. So let's think about how to organize all the information we've gathered, okay? So we are going to be writing an informative or explanatory essay. So in an informative essay, remember author's purpose, right? One of the purposes might be to inform. We're going to present information about a single subject. We're going to read and take notes from print sources. Print sources would be like a story, a book, a magazine, an article. We're going to listen to, view, and take notes from digital sources. That could be something like a television show, a video, a podcast. And then we're going to organize our facts and details. So let's take a closer look at that. So remember that we are writing a description of a corn plant, okay? So we are writing an informative or explanatory essay in which you describe the appearance is what it looks like, and the structure, what parts does it have, of a corn plant. So when we do our informative or explanatory essay, we have to include an introduction, right? We can't just start with, the corn plant has a long stalk, right? We have to sort of give some introduction to what we're going to be presenting. So we need an introduction. We need relevant facts and details from the structure of a corn plant, which was one of our stories, and the video, harvesting corn. And then we need a conclusion, sort of a summary to sum it all up. So we need an introduction, we need facts and details, and we need a conclusion. So let's take a look at this mentor text. And if you remember Mr. Harding reading this to you, The Amazing Corn Plant. So let's take a look at how the author of The Amazing Corn Plant organized this story. So first of all, we have an introduction, okay? We have an introduction tells us a little bit about the history of corn, right? For thousands of years, corn has been an important source of food for humans and animals. However, most people do not understand the structure of this amazing plant and how it grows. So that tells the reader, here's what you're going to be reading about in my story. You're going to be reading about the corn plant. Then the author has 3 paragraphs that have supporting details and descriptions. They start out with a description of the entire plant. Then they go into a description of the ears of the corn. And then they go into a description of the tassel. Okay, so in this part, they're telling you about the appearance and the structure of the corn plant. What does it look like? What parts does it have? And then at the bottom here, we have our conclusion, where the author sort of sums it all up and sort of ends the essay by sort of reiterating or going back to the main point. So let's take a look at this summary, this conclusion here. It says, corn may be grown in small home gardens or in huge fields on rolling hills. When warm breezes blow, the leaves and tassels of the tall plants flutter in the wind. The video, Harvesting Corn, tells us that once the ears get plump, the corn is ready to be harvested. Peeling back the ears, husk, and silks show the rows of shiny yellow kernels on the cob inside. A field of corn is a sure sign of summer, and there will be plenty of delicious corn on the cob to go around. So the author sort of sums it up and then sort of ties it back, connects it back to something that people can relate to, right? We all enjoy eating fresh corn on the cob in the summertime and seeing corn at the store and driving past the cornfields. So that's sort of something that we as readers, we can connect to that. So I think that this author organized this story very well. There's an introduction, 3 paragraphs that have supporting details and facts and information, and then a conclusion. So now it's time for us to get organized. So we are going to be taking the information that we learned in the story, The Structure of a Corn Plant, and the video, Harvesting Corn. So we're going to organize that, and we're going to sort of summarize what we want to be our first paragraph and second paragraph and third paragraph and so on. So for an example, okay, when we're taking notes, your first paragraph would most likely be your introduction, okay? So you would have your introduction and something about a general statement about corn or something that you feel it's important for the reader to know about corn, and sort of why you're writing this essay. So the first paragraph or introduction would be a little bit of information. It might be something like this: corn is an important source of food for people and animals. Okay, next, our second paragraph could be a description of the entire plant. Okay, so here's where you're going to describe what the entire plant looks like. Now, some details to support that or that you might want to include might be the plant has a sturdy stalk, roots support the plant and help it get food and water. Long green leaves grow from nodes on the stalks. So our second paragraph is going to be a description of the entire corn plant. And here is an example of some of the details that you might include. And these come directly from the structure of a corn plant. The third paragraph, you may want to include a description of what the ears of corn look like. If we were to take a closer look at an ear of corn, what would we see? And over here, we have some details, right? Ears grow out from the nodes. The cob is at the center. Kernels grow on the cob, which begins as eggs. Silks grow in the ear and fertilize the eggs. And each ear is covered with a husk. So that tells us when we look at that ear of corn, what are we actually seeing? It gives us a lot of details about that. Your fourth paragraph might be the description of the tassel, right? And again, go back to your notes from the description of a corn plant, the structure of a corn plant story. How did they describe the tassel? Okay, so now you are going to organize your notes from the story, the structure of a corn plant, and the video Harvesting Corn into, we're going to call it a note-taking guide. Now, this is not attached. You're going to do this in your notebook. So your reader's response journal or your writer's notebook, whatever you have at home. And you can make a chart just like this one. Just draw some lines with your pencil, make some boxes. Over here, you can number your paragraph, maybe write the topic sentence. And then on the other side, put some supporting details or information. So if you would like to pause or stop the video here and go and do that, organize your notes from the structure of a corn plant and the video Harvesting Corn. Remember, you are writing an essay that is a description of a corn plant and tells us what it looks like and what its parts are. So that is what we are writing. So you can pause or stop the video here, and I'll be here when you get back. Okay, we are on to our last section of the day here for our lesson, and it is independent reading. And hopefully you have a book that you are really enjoying. I have a book that I am really enjoying right now. And I stayed up, I usually go to bed early, and last night I stayed up late reading it because it's just that good. And I didn't want to put it down. I wanted to keep reading and find out what happens next. So when you are doing your independent reading, just a few reminders. Choose a spot where you won't get distracted, right? You're not using your phone. You're not using your video game. You're sitting away from the TV. This is just a time for you to read. Get started right away. Keep your eyes on the page. Stay in one spot. Don't get up and keep moving around. Read the entire time. Read silently and think about the book. Make those wonderful connections as you are reading. Now, remember, when you're reading, you can set a timer for 15 minutes. There are 15-minute timers on YouTube. You could set a phone timer or an egg timer or your microwave timer for 15 minutes. And when 15 minutes is up, then you just stop, put your bookmark in. You can always go back to it later, but I'm sure you have other work to do today. But it's nice to just have some time in your day to set aside for independent reading. So you can go and do that now. And when you are done and you've done both of your assignments for today, remember you're writing about how the circle graph connects to the story, right? Corn belongs, I think it was corn belongs in our mouths, not in our car. And then you're going to work on organizing your writing for your description of a corn plant. Okay? I hope this was helpful, and I will see you soon. Bye.